Hello, we're back. I hope everyone enjoyed Tania. She was so much fun. Gangster vegan support out in Hyattsville, out in Baltimore as well. And now it's time for someone I've been totally standing for. Um, Christine, her handle is Lid Flutters, but she's been raising money for raising money and also raising awareness for Black-owned restaurants. And so we're going to talk about her art and activism and how that's come together. I see she's in the room, waiting for her to hop on in. But really excited. What a great night. What a duo to have also. Super fun. I hope everyone saw Christine's earlier Q&A. It made me laugh. But I guarantee you that to be really funny. She's a good time. Hi, Christine.
Hey,
How are you doing?
I'm so well. How are you?
Doing really well. Were you able to join us for the 8:30 for the full 8:30?
Yeah, and she was so inspiring. And you're
I
right, her
know.
smile is like contagious.
The watts on that smile. I said to her when I said, come on to the drive-through. She was like, yes. And I'm like, honestly, I would never know that you went through anything because of the way you smile. It's just like so infectious. I was
I
like,
know.
this isn't unreal. But
She
how
just
are
said
you? Oh,
contagious.
sorry.
I was like smiling, just
The
like
whole
listening
time.
to her.
My face was hurting because I was like, I just love her.
She's so cute. She was so cute.
I
I feel
loved
like this
it.
is a really hard act to follow now.
Oh no, no pressure. I was just saying before you like really hopped in. I was like, I was watching your Q&A and it made me giggle. I was like, I'm so excited for tonight. I needed this energy. It's been a long day, but
Yeah.
how have you been doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm such an admirer of what you're doing. I don't remember if you found me or I found you, but it worked.
Honestly, I don't know either. I don't know, but I know that I saw your work and I'm like, this is just beautiful. I didn't even know you were raising money, but you were one of an earlier like supporter of us just trying to do something for people to easily get involved and get active. And I really appreciate that because I mean, we don't know what we're doing on social media. So we're just like, whoever can help us, we'll take it. And I think we've been talking ever since, actually. I've been just keeping up with the rollout, and we'll get to your art. But I want to get back to like kind of your origin story and that you told me you were a middle school teacher. What subject do you teach? And also thank you for your service.
Um, it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of feelings. Um, there's a lot of trouble with managing those feelings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. I teach art, so I actually my thesis was on how like art has like an impact, a positive impact on people that have experienced trauma or going through trauma
Mm-hmm.
or going through things. And
Oh.
my kids have experienced a lot of trauma, and so
Mm-hmm.
having them like in that capacity is just like so cool to see their expression and like how they work through that. So I feel like I'm in a really unique position that I'm able to like be a part of that.
I mean, and honestly, like in all seriousness, I really do thank you for what you do because a lot of people do not think about the emotional labor that teachers kind of take on, especially you working in DCPS and you're working with students that are food insecure and have like these adult problems. And that that so many people overlook them. And it's just like, I can't even imagine like kind of the call to action you had and like what can you do during this time of COVID and everyone's home and they don't have that kind of reprieve of school and that support system. Like, but I would love for you to talk a little bit about how that has affected you and the work that you've been doing with your art actually.
Um, yeah, I mean, you bring up a really good point. I meet people all the time. I mean, not currently, I'm not meeting anyone, but
You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be.
no, but when that was like a thing to meet people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, friends, dates I go on, like people I interact with, was shocked when I would like describe the situation of like the public education in DC, specifically like my school and schools like that. People who live and work in the district and had no idea. Like for example, from my classroom, I can see the Washington Monument.
Mm-hmm.
It's and so that's like a constant reminder of like I'm teaching in the nation's capital. I can literally see the Washington Monument from my classroom while I'm teaching children that don't necessarily know where they're going to get their next meal from. It's like a really,
Mm-hmm.
it's a hard like juxtaposition, you know, of things.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think a lot of people don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And those that do know about it honestly think about it more in terms of adults, because you see adults that are homeless, you know, sleeping
Mm-hmm.
in tents under bridges, but you don't really see children as much. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people forget that it doesn't just impact adults, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, and I think and it's a big reason why you were so purposeful in getting involved with the DC Central Kitchen. Can
My
you talk
kids
a
access that.
your kids access it, right? And can you tell us a little bit about their mission and the work they've been doing, especially during the COVID times, and like where they've been kind of working for support?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you know they're a branch of the World Central Kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which of course is a global organization that's doing phenomenal things in many communities.
Mm-hmm.
DC Central Kitchen is, I mean, honestly, during these donations, I've learned more about them even than I knew just from like my experience as a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
just how connected they are to so many people. And so many of these restaurants were like so excited to jump on board with my project because they also had ties to them. They came up in their programs, you know, things like that. So their reach is extensive, way more than I even realized. I
Mm.
knew that they were, you know, important to the community because they help my kids and other kids in schools, families eat. But I didn't even realize like how expansive their reach was. So I'm
Mm.
also learning a lot um, just in this project. But
Right.
my school is one of a couple, many, not just a couple, that have stayed open to feed the kids during this closure. And so
Great.
DC Central Kitchen helps, you know, assist in that. It's not easy to keep that kind of program running. My kids access that like on a normal day, and so when you think of how many people are out of school, out of work,
Mm-hmm.
and those numbers, like they need all the money they can get.
Yeah, and I think that with everything going on, and we've actually been talking a little bit about how like what can you do if you're not able to go to the protests. This is another way to get involved. If you're not buying a gift card, you can donate to DC Central Kitchen. I mean, it's such a direct line of help to people that are really going through a hard time. And like, let's talk a little bit about your project. Like, what made you, or I should say, not what made you, but what inspired you to say, you know what, I can create some beautiful work that can support DC Central Kitchen?
Um, so we were out of school, I guess, mid-March.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while. Um, and that was when, of course, we were like super locked down, like no one was doing anything. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just had this really like void kind of like empty feeling of like, I mean, I'm an acts of service person. That's like
Mm-hmm.
my love language. I mean, I'm a
Love
teacher,
that.
so that's like that's what I do. So I no longer was like in a position where I could do anything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I just was feeling very lost, I guess. And so it started with my heart really going out to these businesses that had just completely overnight lost their income. And
Mm-hmm.
I started just illustrating the businesses kind of in my neighborhood that I liked and I frequent, and I posted them on Instagram because I have a big following, just like, hey, this place is still open for takeout, you know, just kind of like aware.
Oh, okay.
And so it started honestly of me just feeling like, okay, I'm a teacher. I don't have a ton of money. I can't leave the house. Like, what can I do? I can post on Instagram and tell people to go get takeout. Like, that's basically what I was
Yes.
doing, you know?
Everyone eat
Um,
more.
yeah, right? Like, we just eat more, right? Yeah. So that's how it started. And
Mm-hmm.
then people started noticing, and I think it really elicited like a really nostalgic feeling. And like people started messaging me and they were like, oh, like this is where I got engaged, or this is where like I had my
Oh,
first date, or this is where I had like my, dinner with my mom every year on Mother's Day. Like it became like a really human thing.
yeah.
And so I kept going. And then I got like 15, 20, something like that. And I decided like I have a body of work, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I can now do something, Um, and so that's when I decided to donate. And I originally was going to donate to the restaurants and businesses and everything that I was illustrating, but I quickly
Mm-hmm.
realized that split 8 million ways was not effective.
Right.
Like,
You get a dollar. You get a dollar.
right. And that's like not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
um, it's almost like insulting, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to not do that.
Good call.
um, because obvious reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
so I donated to DC Central Kitchen instead, because it kind of like killed two birds with one stone. Like I
Mm-hmm.
was able to draw attention to these businesses. They needed it. I was also able to raise money for DC Central Kitchen, which my kids access. So it was a way for me to feel connected to them. And obviously, not every single one of my students is directly impacted by that, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
idea that students and other people like them, so um, yeah, so that's it. That's what
That's how
happened.
you got. That's pretty organic, but I love that you said, okay, wait, I have this talent, and you realize how to repurpose it to make a really big difference. Because I recently heard during your Q&A, which I totally am going to highlight about that Q&A you did today, but by you selling your prints, you raised $5,000 for DC Central Kitchen, which in turn equaled 1,800 meals. So everyone pay attention. She used her talent to do some good. And honestly, the people who get your prints have a little piece of joy. Like, I mean, that's exactly what I was looking at. I was so torn between so many pieces because I'm like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of this. And this place, Half Smoke, reminds me of my friend's brunch we did last year and how we spilled a carafe of champagne after we asked for more champagne. It was
Yeah.
so embarrassing. We can't go back. But like, it's like things like that. I'm just like, these things like are like almost, to me, I think it even serves as artifacts of this time we're all living in. And like, you have this chance to do something good and get involved. So I love that. But let's go to the Q&A for a second. So I loved your response. Someone said, all I can't go to the protest, and the only thing I can do is make posters for my friend. And you had the best response. And please share your response, but then tell me why you came from that angle.
Um, so, I'll be honest. Okay, I'm 35. I'm young. I don't have pre-existing conditions, but at some point in the near future, I would like to visit my parents, and they're older.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I have been to the protest, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of like on the outskirts. I'm not like right in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I think it's fine. Some people haven't been at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's like this rhetoric going around that um, if you are not like standing right in front of the police at the protest, then what you're doing is not as important,
Mm-hmm.
um, or I guess as significant. And I just don't like that. I think that everybody can do their own part, and it doesn't have to be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not every, you've seen, I'm sure, a lot of articles come out about how there's mostly young people at these protests because older
Mm-hmm.
people just don't feel comfortable going, which is completely okay. Like COVID is still
Mm-hmm.
going on.
It's a
Um,
pandemic.
yeah, like that is okay.
Right.
And that's okay. Like I just feel like we need to be respectful of what people are doing and meet them where they are. And if you're making posters, that's okay. Not everyone is also in a position to donate financially. People are
Mm-hmm.
still unemployed. People are still recovering from that. And so I
Mm-hmm.
also don't like that people are holding it against you if you are not financially invested in this.
Yeah.
Um, I just feel like if you're doing the best you can with what you have, that is okay.
I love, and I think that, and I just really love that message because I've had a couple of conversations with friends about that. There were people, talking really strongly about like the black square and like, what are you doing? I'm like, when I was thinking, I'm like, we have no idea what this person is doing just because they want to, outwardly show their support in this very like what you might consider superficial way doesn't mean something else isn't happening in the background. So I really love that voice and that space you're creating to just say, everyone has their own activist journey. Everyone can like figure out what's best for them. And so I just really wanted everyone to hear that because I loved your response in support of that.
Well, it's also just honestly not productive if everyone is doing the same thing, you know?
That's so
Like,
true. Everyone sell art.
yeah, like everybody needs to like have their niche and then you all
Mm-hmm.
come together to like complete the puzzle. So like I
I
don't know.
I agree. I agree. So do you think like I heard you say earlier that like you were super compelled because you've been actually been doing a lot of artwork that represent the protest and some of the signs you've seen which I have loved. But what do you think this means for your work going forward? Do you think this is going to be a continuing theme, or do you see that inspiration shifting in a way? Because I think the demand around you is just great right now. I know you've been hustling to try to get things done. So like, what do you think this means for your own personal journey?
Um so my Instagram is like very eclectic and organic.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you look at it, it's not like curated. Like I'm honestly surprised so many people follow because it's not always coherent. Like, um,
Breaking all the rules.
yeah, but like it's not like everything I post has like a pink background or like it's
Yeah.
so. I guess the point is that like I've always tended to like post what I'm feeling at that time,
Mm.
and like in like this is a completely off topic example, but like in February I went to Jamaica and I like posted a picture of myself in a bathing suit and someone was like, why would you post that, you look fat? And so then I was like, well, now I'm just going to post more pictures of myself in a bathing suit. So
Thank you though. Thank you
right,
because
so
you
there was
matter.
like a week where I was like posting,
Mm-hmm.
like so I kind of just tend to like react to and post and like whatever I'm like feeling. So
Mm-hmm.
and so then when this pandemic started, I shifted to these illustrations and like everything was like storefronts.
Mm-hmm.
So now I am still doing that and I'm sifting them in, but I'm also heavy in these like demonstrations and these protests. So that's just kind of where my heart is and my head is. As moving forward, I said something in my Q&A like you mentioned earlier, I'm not really in a place where I can make um like draw a butterfly or like
Right. Yes. Yes. Butterflies and rainbows and
yeah, like
light, cute things, fluffy things.
I'm just not there.
There. No,
So
and I love that you recognize that and you're pretty unapologetic, which is probably why I gravitated
yeah.
towards you. And I actually, if you from like what you want people to take away from your work and like the messages you're sending, and even you just really being this really vocal ally in this larger struggle that's going on, what is it that you want people to learn and take away from what you're doing today?
um I want people to really, if they like don't hear anything else, I want them to really hear that message of like the little things really do matter.
Mm-hmm.
This project, I'll be completely honest, when I started this project, I did not have a goal. I had no idea what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to like put myself out there and fall flat on my face and like no one was going to buy any prints. And then I just looked like an idiot because I illustrated like 40 places that no one cares. So like I didn't, but like seriously, like
I know.
I
I'm
didn't
sorry, because now
know.
I'm just thinking about like these random places. Like, where is she? What is she?
right?
Where are these places in DC? Where is she?
Right? Like I had no idea how people were
Yeah.
gonna react. And I went live at like midnight, you know, and I was like the only person of course awake like looking at this. But it was like you know, and
Yeah.
I like waited until midnight and like at 12:01 like I'm Kylie Jenner or something and I was like live, you know, with everything. And of course no one bought anything for like the next day, but I did it. Um but anyway, the point is like I had no idea, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then it just turned into this huge thing, and then I went from like I don't know if anyone will like ask me to sit at the lunch table to like I have $5,000 like
Right. No, and that's a big deal because everyone, I just want you to know that her prints are about $22 to $28.
they're
Every
reasonable.
sale counts and they're adorable. Like I am just more torn about which one I want. I want to at some point raffle one. It's just an amazing project that you're doing that's raising money for DC Central Kitchen. And I also want to highlight I got a lot of questions about your Black Lives Matter mural picture that you did. It's beautiful. I love it. You said that money's also going to the Black Lives Matter organization. Is that the only one right now?
So right now that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you ask about like what's my plan moving forward. So
Mm-hmm.
the Black Lives Matter illustration is a separate donation, separate from DC Central Kitchen. It's just running through the month of June. I mean, it'll be available later,
Okay.
but the donations are just for June. And then I'm gonna take like 2 weeks in July and just like visit some family and kind of like
Nice.
you know zone out.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I come back, I want to start the donations again. But I'm thinking of having like just a permanent section in my shop that rotates like seasonal prints. I don't know.
Okay.
I
No
don't know if that's
pressure.
the right term. I feel like that's not, but I don't know.
Semantics.
Yeah, you get what I mean.
Yeah, I
Um,
got
and like every month or two change the charity. So like right
you. I
now
love that.
I'm giving it to Black Lives Matter. Maybe I'll do the ACLU, you know, maybe I'll do the Freedom Fighters of DC. Like so
Mm-hmm.
each month I'll like change it and it'll just be like a standing section
Mm-hmm.
that any prints you buy from this part of my shop during this month will be donated to X charity. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to kind of like debut that in August, and then or like end of July, something like that. Um,
Wow.
so
That's such a great idea. And obviously, please let us know, and I will totally repost it as you go. And also, that something I forgot to tell everyone. If you want to support DC Central Kitchen by purchasing a print, you can go to her IG page, and it's in the LinkedIn bio under local. So you will see all these really great prints from all over DC that will probably drum up a lot of regretful nights or some really celebratory moments, depending on how wild you've been in DC. But I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that. But just to close out, just to like reflection, I think how long have you been in DC? You've been here for a little bit now.
I've been here 9 or 10 years.
9 or 10 years. And I think so, just in reflection and seeing all of like kind of the evolution, so much has changed in DC over the past 10 years. What is it that you want for DC in the next 10 years?
Um, honestly, I want my children to walk down the street and feel safe. When
Mm-hmm.
I say my children, I mean my students. I don't have children. Um, which I think could be said of many places right now, not just DC, but
Mm-hmm.
I teach predominantly black and brown children, not predominantly 100%,
Mm-hmm.
black and brown children. And I mean, I ride the train with them and I ride the bus with them because, and I walk down,
Mm-hmm.
and I ride home with them because it makes them feel safer. And like, let's be very clear, there's nothing I could like physically do to defend them, but
Mm-hmm.
but
You'd be surprised. There's some instincts that come out, and all of a sudden you're
it's
like,
true.
the Hulk. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, you never know. But I make it very clear with them that like, let's look at what you're working with, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a psychological thing that, and they're not wrong that they're less likely for something to happen if they're with an adult, if they're with a teacher, and honestly, if they're with a white person.
Mm,
So um, that's fine. It takes me longer to get home, but I don't care. I'll ride
yeah.
the train with them. Um, I would like to ride the train with them because I want to, not because I have to.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And actually, once again, I just want to go back to just the appreciation I have for teachers, especially during this time, because it's such a different pivot for all of you to go from classroom to trying to support online and knowing that your kids don't always have Wi-Fi. And so, definitely going to continue to push this and support you as an educator as best as I can. But thank you so much for sharing your time and your journey with us. I'm sure you'll be back at some point. I'm sure there's something in the works at some point. So, but thank you, Christine. I really appreciate you, and I really hope that, like, definitely get that self care in, because I think what you're doing is going to mean so much more to so many people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you having me, and I really appreciate everything that you're doing. You are so inspiring to watch. Like
Oh.
every day you have like a new thing that you're doing. You're hard to keep up with.
Listen, I am struggling. I'm like, how do we post this? Because, there's so many things going on, and we're like, everyone, there's so many ways to get involved. So we're like totally ironing out as we go. But thank you for your support, and I really appreciate your words. I really do. Thank you, Christine. Have a great night.
You
Thank you,
too.
everybody, for joining us.
Bye.
Goodbye.